Hello and welcome to today's video. Today we're doing another book review. I've reviewed another book by the same author, Cal Newport, in the past, Digital Minimalism. But today we are looking at Slow Productivity, which was published in 2024 by Penguin Random House. And there's been a book in between Digital Minimalism and this one, Deep Work, which I'm going to read and review in a couple of months' time. But today we're going to talk about this one. Now, this is basically about the lost art of accomplishment without burnout. In other words, quality over quantity. And that's basically the summary of this book for me, quality over quantity. And there's sort of like three main ideas or principles that Cal discusses in this book. And they are do fewer things, work at a natural pace, and obsess over quality. And it is the obsessing over quality portion of this book that I found the most interesting, useful, entertaining, well-written, all of that kind of stuff. As is the case with a lot of these kind of books, a great summary is on the back. And I'm just going to read a little bit from that today. Our current definition of productivity is broken. It pushes us to treat busyness as a proxy for useful effort, leading to impossibly lengthy task lists and ceaseless meetings. We're overwhelmed by all we have to do and on the edge of burnout, left to decide between giving in to soul-sapping hustle culture or rejecting ambition altogether. But are these really our only choices? So basically, a lot of productivity books push the notion or the idea that we need to do more and give us little, ideas and principles that we can go by to do more. But what Cal is arguing in this book, which is really interesting, is the exact opposite of that. He's saying do less, but do it really, really well. And then you can invest time and effort into the things that actually matter. And there's been a few books like that actually recently. It seems to be a bit of an idea that we are supposed to sort of slow down, and it kind of makes sense. Like obsess over quality. Quality takes time, and that's the same in any industry, be it opera or be it the knowledge sector, which this book discusses quite a lot. So the book is structured really simply. There are 4 long chapters, and 3 of those each discuss basic principles. So the entire book, Slow Productivity, is the philosophy that we're trying to establish here. Then each chapter is the principle, the idea. So do fewer things, work at a natural pace and obsess over quality. And then that's broken down further into propositions or broad ideas that are all related. There's often an interlude in each chapter, and then a range of plans or techniques you can use to implement them in your life. The book is full of examples ranging from Joule to Benjamin Franklin to Richard Feynman, all these kinds of people, and it breaks down how they implemented slow productivity in their own way. So it's not always just about doing less. When you think of someone like Benjamin Franklin, it's not about doing less. It's obsessing over quality and doing things that sort of matter, and it's finding ways of doing more. So outsourcing work so that it all sort of runs independently, but gives you the time to be able to obsess over what you want to obsess over. So I want to quickly read another little sample, and this is from the conclusion of the book. And Cal writes, "My long-term wish is that this movement kicks off many others, creating a marketplace of different concepts of productivity, each of which might apply to different types of workers or sensibilities. Slow productivity, for example, is designed to be actionable, providing ideas that individuals can implement immediately." Now this is, so when he talks about like the knowledge sector, so things like IT, education, finance, and even people like Cal who are writers, this is what this is particularly aimed at, people who have autonomy in their workplace. So why should you read this book? Well, firstly, I think if your to-do list is getting longer every day, I know mine is, and that's why I read this book. If it's just constantly overflowing with things, being able to step back and have a look at what you can do to do fewer things, but do them at a really high standard. This gives you some great ideas for that. And if you're just struggling to keep up with the tasks and projects in your life, this gives you some interesting techniques to be able to try and establish a better rhythm and workflow for yourself. So what did I particularly like or dislike about this book? Well, I'm going to say the opening sections of the book, particularly the first chapter, are pretty dry. It takes a while for the book to get into its rhythm and start to tell us about, the actual actionable things we can do to implement this into our own lives. So it does take a little bit to sort of establish that. It's a bit like one of those recipe blogs that go through, 3 hours of information about their grandmother's kitchen and then gives you the recipe. There's a bit of that going on here, not to that extent, but a little bit of that. And then, of course, there are lots of examples. A lot of these books, reference famous people that, we know. As I said, like it talks about Joule or Benjamin Franklin and a bunch of people. And it then, it becomes a little bit sort of repetitive, even though each of these people that are discussed went about slow productivity or the idea of slow productivity in a slightly different way. It does still get a little bit repetitive. But there are things I love about this book. So firstly, being able to hear a little bit of Cal's individual journey to this discovery, and that was during the pandemic and post-pandemic, when the knowledge sector or a lot of those sort of work from home people who sort of dealt in things like writing and all that kind of thing, their whole workplace and concept of work changed, and there was like this mini revolt. So it was kind of interesting to hear all of that kind of stuff. It was also really interesting to read a few interesting ideas on how to do less and how to be able to focus on a few things and do them properly, including one that I really liked was the pull method. Instead of sort of a workflow where something is done and then pushed on to the next person, it's completed and then waiting for the next person to be ready for it, and then they pull it over. So that concept was really, really great. So in general, it's a pretty decent book. I think there are a lot of books like this, but the germ of the idea of this is absolute gold. It just kind of gets stretched a little bit thin, given the fact that he's written 200 and something pages, about an idea that is do less. Or work slower and more purposefully. But as I said, the germ of the idea is great. The idea of slow productivity and a lot of those simple ideas on how to incorporate it into your life that are included in this book make it an interesting read. Particularly, like a lot of these books, if you haven't read a bunch of self-help or productivity books, this might be an interesting one because the idea, as I said, is kind of flipped on its head from a lot, which gives you techniques and ideas in how to add more into your life. This is talking about taking things away and just focusing on what you can do and doing the things properly, which I really approve of. I really struggle with that in my own life, and that's something I'm taking away from this. And as I said, that pull method and how to incorporate that into your own life is even without in a sort of a self-employed freelance kind of world, there's certain things we can do like that actually are implementable in our own lives. So this was Cal Newport's book, Slow Productivity. If you've read it, I'd love to know what you think. As I said, I think it's pretty good. I think I gave it about a solid 6 to 7 out of 10. It just stretches thin a little bit, and as I said, the opening of it's just a little bit dry to get into it. So, persevere, because particularly that final chapter on obsess over quality, I found really, really interesting. So thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, hit the notifications button, all that kind of stuff. If you've got products you think I should be looking at, or if there is a way you'd like to support the channel, I'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, enjoy your books, don't do too much, and I'll talk to you soon.